The naval feats of the Rebel Alliance are nothing short of impressive, despite facing a constant uphill battle against the Galactic Empire, which was bolstered with far more resources, including 2 Death Stars. They decisively won the Galactic Civil War. Since you seem to enjoy our TIE Fighter variant breakdown video, and considering our channel is called Red 5, we felt it was only right to bring you every single Rebel Starfighter type and variant explained. The X-Wing is easily the most recognizable craft used by the Rebellion and later the New Republic and Resistance, though there were a few lesser-known sub-variants of the X-Wing. The iconic ship was a descendant of multiple Republic-era fighters, like the ARC-170 and Z-95 Headhunter, and was designed to be a well-rounded, hyperdrive and shield generator-equipped snub fighter with no exploitable weakness. The most commonly known variant of the X-Wing was the T-65B, as seen in battles such as Scarif, Yavin, and Endor. Renowned for its speed and maneuverability in battle, it became the backbone of the Rebel Alliance Starfighter Corps, being both harder-hitting and tougher under fire than its main adversary, the standard Imperial TIE Fighter. It was also much faster than the TIE when it came to in-atmospheric flight. The most distinctive feature of the X-Wing were its wings, called strike foils. Normally, the foils on each side locked in place, flush against each other, but during combat, the S-foils could fold out. This gave the craft its distinctive X-like appearance from the front and rear view. The purpose of the S-foils folding outwards was to give the Starfighter a greater spread of fire with its 4 laser cannons. The X-Wing also came armed with proton torpedo launchers, as used by Luke Skywalker to destroy the first Death Star. The Resistance later utilized the T-70 X-Wing, which was said to be faster, more expensive, and complex in comparison to the T-65. Visually, the main difference came when looking at the S-foil-mounted engines, which were now semicircle in shape. Next came the T-85 X-Wing, used primarily by the New Republic Defense Fleet. It appeared to have a much longer nose and shorter wings and cannons, though this could also be attributed to the art style of the Star Wars Resistance series. Today's video is sponsored by Private Internet Access. Whenever you connect to the internet via a public Wi-Fi network at a cafe, shopping mall, airport, friend's house, or even within your own home, your data is at risk of being stolen. This data can include your passwords, photos, and other sensitive information. Private Internet Access is a VPN that helps you to protect your devices and personal data from those prying eyes. Browsing the internet without a VPN is kind of like buying that brand new Star Wars novel and only getting to read the synopsis. That's because access to many websites is limited depending on your physical location, including streaming services like Disney+, the home of Star Wars. PIA helps you to bypass restrictions on streaming services by giving you the option to change your IP address to one of 84 countries. For example, you can set your location to Canada and gain access to Star right within Disney+, which features content only found on Hulu in the United States. Private Internet Access allows you to protect an unlimited amount of devices at the same time with one subscription and is available on all platforms. PIA is also the most transparent VPN company with over 30 million downloads. By going to piavpn.com/red5, you can grab an 83% discount on Private Internet Access. That comes to just over $2 per month. Plus, they'll give you an extra 4 months absolutely free. You can find the link in the video description and pinned comment. Back to the video. A few other lesser-known X-Wing variants include the following: the T-65CA2, an older model notably flown by Temmin Wexley; the T-65BR, often called the Recon X, modified for reconnaissance missions with advanced sensors in place of torpedo launchers; the T-65DA1, that replaced the astromech droid socket with additional computers; the Advanced or Heavy X-Wing, which had improved heat handling and increased mass capacity; the TX-65 Trainer X, serving as a training starfighter for prospective X-Wing pilots; the tandem X-Wing, which had an expanded cockpit with a second pilot's seat. The exterior variant 1 and 2 used to disguise rebels as pirates. There's also the XJ series of X-Wings, which saw use against the Yuuzhan Vong and in the Second Galactic Civil War in Star Wars Legends. Now onto the Y-Wing. Developed in the early days of the Clone Wars, the BTLB model of the Y-Wing saw use by the Galactic Republic. It featured a bubble turret operated by a gunner. The Y-Wings used by the Rebel Alliance were called BTY-A4s and were a single-seat craft. Its durability, dependability, and heavy armament made it a staple in the Rebel fleet as a fighter-bomber hybrid. The BTY-A4s were actually quite old by the time the Rebellion started using them. In many cases, they were in fact stolen from scrapyards. The reason they look so bare in comparison to their Republic predecessors is because the Alliance stripped them of their armor, as it had to be removed after every mission anyways for repair due to the Y-Wing's age. Other notable Y-Wing variants used by the Rebellion include the BTL-A4LP, or Long Probe, designed for long-distance reconnaissance missions, providing more space for crew and equipment. The BTL-S3, which retains the tail gunner position from the Republic model, but without the bubble. The gunner would sit back-to-back with the pilot. The BTL-S3 Courier variant, used for long-range courier missions, including the evacuation of Echo Base on Hoth. The BTA-NR2, used by the New Republic, featuring optional plating and improved performance. The Heavy Y-Wing, which featured 4 engine pods instead of 2, and the Light Y-Wing, with smaller engine pods. An effective marriage of speed and firepower, the Y-Wing served the Rebel Alliance extremely well, despite being a bit of an antique. The A-Wing was considered to be the fastest production ship in the galaxy during the Galactic Civil War, even quicker than the TIE Interceptor. The most common variant used by the Rebel Alliance was the RZ-1. Essentially a cockpit with 2 engines, the RZ-1 was so fast and maneuverable, it was a challenge to pilot even for someone with Jedi-like reflexes. Much of this was due to the fact that the A-Wing was not equipped with an astromech slot, leaving all calculations and maneuvers up to the discretion of the pilot. The RZ-1T was used to train A-Wing pilots, also featuring a second seat for an instructor in the back of the cockpit. The RZ-2 A-Wing was the successor to the RZ-1 and saw usage during the First Order Resistance War. It incorporated and standardized years of field modifications by the Rebellion, along with a slimmer and longer chassis to yield even more speed. Rebel and Resistance pilots skilled enough to fly the A-Wings took great pride in mastering these little speed demons. The B-Wing was the most heavily armed Rebel fighter, and was more of a blockade buster, designed to attack and destroy large capital ships. At the same time, it was slower and less maneuverable than a Y-Wing, and required more maintenance than any other Rebel starfighter. The T-shaped ship featured a gyro-stabilized cockpit and 2 small S-foils. The first B-Wing prototype, known as the B6 Blade Wing, featured a gunner's cockpit as its tail and a composite beam laser system not seen on later models. The variant seen by the Battle of Endor was the ASF-01 B-Wing. It turned out to be an excellent bomber and assault starfighter, provided that it was given enough cover by more maneuverable spacecraft. A B-Wing Mark II was later developed, and some of its parts were used to assemble makeshift troop transports. The H-60 Tempest bomber was a predecessor to the B-Wing, lacking S-foils or a gyroscopic cockpit. At least 2 of these ships were said to be kept in reserve at the Rebel base on Yavin 4. The H-Wing, known officially as the BTS-A2 long-range strike fighter bomber, was a less common Rebel fighter. The H-Wing was considered the second most heavily armed ship in the Alliance fleet, right behind the B-Wing. The glaring downsides of the H-Wing were that its primary weapon could only be fired by the gunner, and it cost about the same as 2 single-pilot starfighters. This made them a rare sight among the Alliance fleet. The U-Wing, known officially as the UT-60D, was a transport gunship, used to ferry troops into battle and provide cover fire for them with its door-mounted turrets. U-Wings were pivotal in transport and protection of the Rebel Alliance's ground forces during the Battle of Scarif. Its S-foils were retractable and could be repositioned forward or aft depending on flight needs. Positioning them outwards allowed the U-Wing to increase its deflector shield's coverage. The E-Wing escort fighter was intended to match or exceed the performance of the X-Wing in every way, and was intended to replace the older design in New Republic service. However, it never became even remotely close to as popular due to malfunctions with its cannons and accompanying R7 astromech units. The K-Wing, officially the BTL-S-8, was a heavy starfighter bomber. The K-Wing's primary missions included precision bombing of planetary targets, slow-moving capital ships, and spaceborne installations. It also performed secondary missions as an escort or reconnaissance ship. The K-Wing was equipped with an incredibly large weapons loadout, requiring a bombardier on top of a pilot. The BSF-17 or MG-100 Star Fortress heavy bomber was designed by the New Republic during the later days of the Galactic Civil War, but saw more usage by the Resistance. In total, the ship was crewed by 5 individuals. A single pilot and flight engineer operated within the armored cockpit, the bombardier operated a targeting pedestal on the flight deck, and 2 gunners operated the rear and ventral ball turrets. The bomber's intended purpose was to deliver a payload of 1,048 proton bombs on top of a target. Since there was no gravity in space, these bombs were magnetic. As a bomber, the MG-100 Star Fortress was incredibly slow, making it vulnerable to starfighter attacks. As desperate for starfighters as they were for any other military asset, the Rebel Alliance employed many Republic-era ships in small numbers. We wanted to give them a quick mention, but may cover them in depth in a future Republic fighter video. Let us know if you want that in the comments. These ships include the ARC-170, Delta-7, and Z-95 Headhunters, among many others. Although it's technically an airspeeder and not a starship, we just felt wrong excluding the T-47 airspeeder. When the Alliance was stationed at Echo Base on Hoth, they modified T-47s into snowspeeders. These low-attack, low-altitude fighters required insulation modifications to operate in the frigid temperatures. During the Battle of Hoth, these snowspeeders used tow cables to disable AT-AT walkers. But that about does it for Rebel starfighters, plus the humble snowspeeder. There were certainly many other ships used by members of the Alliance, for example the Millennium Falcon of course, but we wanted to focus on their main production fleet. So let us know your favorite Rebel starfighter in the comments, and check out our TIE Fighter variant video if you haven't already. Come join us to chat more at our community Discord server, linked in the description. If you enjoyed today's Star Wars video, we've got more on the screen for you right now. Also make sure to drop a like, and if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe to join the Red Squadron. Until next time, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you. Red 5, standing by.